Okay, so this is my demonstration of how to make suppositories. You can see I've laid out all my ingredients. You don't need to have a Pyrex, but it's helpful for measuring. You'll want to have a pot. We're going to do a double boiler situation. We've got a 1/2 cup measuring cup, a teaspoon, and then I have my Oregon grapefruit powder, matcha powder, turmeric powder. I don't think this is the best grade turmeric, but it's just what I had, what I could find in the moment. Calendula oil, thuja tincture, and echinacea tincture, and then the coconut oil. Okay, first things first, I'm going to measure out the echinacea because I want to use the Pyrex later on. So we're going to measure it and then pour it into this container. Alright, so we want 4 ounces of the echinacea. This was one of the first percolations I ever made, so I made this with echinacea powder. Alright, so now I'm going to set that off to the side, and I'm going to put it in there for now. Alright, so let's measure out 1/2 cup of coconut oil, because that's our base. That's the dog whining. Alright, so here we have a 1/2 cup of coconut oil, give or take. It doesn't have to be completely exacting. Okay, I'm going to set these aside because we're done with these. Now we're going to measure out the powders. I always start with the powders because I usually only have 1 teaspoon, so you want to do dry stuff first so that you don't have to try to be wetting the teaspoon and then trying to dry it off. So we're going to start with 1 teaspoon of Oregon grapefruit powder. And then I'm going to do the 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder. Oopsies. It's a big spill. Hopefully that won't happen to you. But I'm just going to go wipe this off really quickly. Alright, and now I'll do my matcha powder, which matcha is really expensive, but it does go a long way. This has lasted me for months and months. Alright, there's my 1 teaspoon of matcha powder. Now we can move on to the wet ingredients. I always do the oil last. So now we can measure out 5 milliliters of thuja tincture, which is 1 teaspoon. And I'm going to combine it with the echinacea tincture. You can see it has a really dark color. So just as a reminder, we have 4 ounces of echinacea in here, and 1 teaspoon, which is 5 milliliters of thuja. Alright, and then I'm going to measure out my 1 teaspoon of calendula oil. Alright, Now we're gonna start working on our double boiler situation. So I'm gonna pour some, this is just tap water, I'm gonna pour some in this pot. And then turn on the stove. I'm going to put it on pretty low. We really just want to melt the coconut oil and get everything mixed together. So we do not need it to be on very high. Maybe a little bit more. Alright. So enough water in there. Had a stir. Don't know where it went. That's the stir. Alright, so the water hasn't even started boiling yet, but I'm kind of just like getting everything mixed together. And while it's heating up, I thought I could say a few reasons why I like this preparation. So this preparation is different from a lot of recipes you might see because it doesn't have any essential oils in them in the recipe, which I like because I feel like essential oils can be really expensive to buy, and sometimes it's hard to find the one, like specific ones like Thuja essential oil, and it also uses a lot of plant material. So I like this preparation because I think it's just really pretty affordable. Like most of the ingredients aren't super expensive, and you're only using a small amount, so you really just have to buy them once. So maybe if you want to come zoom in, as you can see, it's really starting to get very mixed up just from the heat alone. The first time I made this, I had a hard time getting the powder to really fully mix into the coconut oil, and then when I poured it into a mold, the powder all sank to the bottom. So when we had our BCH suppository class, which Betsy taught, I asked her about that, and she found a solution, which was to keep stirring until it's almost cool as you pour the mixture into the molds, and that should help keep the powder in solution. So we're going to try to do that. So I'm really just making sure it's getting totally stirred up. As you can see, it's a little grainy. I do think it would be cool to experiment with infusing the oil beforehand with like the root of Oregon grapefruit or the root of turmeric, and getting, so you're not actually using powder, you're just using like coconut oil infused with those roots, and then mixing it with tincture and oil, because I think that would also help with the grainy quality and the powder falling out. But yeah, so that's something to maybe look into in the future. Alright, so this is pretty good, looking pretty stirred up. So I'm going to turn off the heat. Oh, I forgot to, I almost didn't put the tincture in. Alright, so I turned off the heat, but I'm going to add the tincture in. I'm going to turn it back on. Just give it a little chance to cook down. Can you pause the